Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Iram Zulfikar, meeting you once again with a new course altogether, and the course is Business English. As the name very much explains the subject that we are going to discuss together in this semester, we are going to talk about English, usage of English, and the communication that we do in the English language when we are dealing or doing business. This business can be of any type. What are the things that we are going to discuss in this semester? We are going to learn and we are going to grow together towards proficiency in English language. As far as the subject matter is concerned that is related to business, I'm going to discuss in today's lecture in detail. So let's start with the talk. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In today's talk, we are going to talk about the course material, the contents, the methodology that we'll be applying to move on with the study, and I'll try to orient you with the basics of communication, moving from basics of communication to business communication, the basics of language efficiency in business, the need, the requirements, and what are the basics that we need to understand in order to be efficient in communicating in English, and how do we manage to be an effective communicator in English language. So let us start with today's talk with very first thing. We need to know what is this course going to teach us, a very precise course orientation. Well, the course of Business English, that is precisely business writing, will cover basic writing skills to enable students to write to maintain and manage all types of business correspondence, including business letters, memorandums, minutes, minutes of meeting, resumes, reports, and it is not to ignore that although the focus of the business writing course is writing exclusively, however, we cannot ignore the aspect of communication, understanding communication, and understanding involves listening as well as speaking, because not all the time you are writing. Your writing has basics deeply rooted into this receptive and productive skill, that is listening and speaking. So we will be paying due attention to both of these skills too. However, the major of your course will correspond to writing skills. Oral presentations as well as interviewing skills and listening for better communication, as I've explained, are also going to be important parts of your course contents. Now, a word about methodology and content division. I want you to be very clear right from the beginning what are the methods that we are going to go through this course. One particular pattern of teaching that you will observe in most of the lectures will be that each session will be divided into 3 divisions. In the first division, that is going to be a major part of the lecture, you will be receiving information and knowledge and practice about business English, business writing particularly. In the second half is going to be about the language skill that we use into business. What kind of language, what kind of words, what kind of phrases, what kind of situations that we come across when we are dealing in a business world. And last but not the least is the listening part. The third part of the lecture is going to be your drill of listening business communication, your practice. So we will try, if I put it together, in the first half of the course we are going to acquire knowledge, and in the second half of the course, that is language expansion, where you will learn how to speak, what to speak, and how to listen effectively is going to be the practice part of the lecture. All right, so the slide very much defines my discussion of the methodology, that you are going to have 3 chunks of the lecture. First chunk will be subject specific, where you'll be learning about the norms of business writing, the practices, the formats, the do's and don'ts, the nitty-gritties, all the bits and bytes that you need to know in order to be an effective writer. And the other part is going to discuss business language exercise, and the third part will be, inshallah, of listening practice. Now, before that we start business communication, we need to understand, what do we mean by communication? I am positive that so far you must have had experience of learning communication skills. However, to refresh your knowledge about communication skills, I would like to give you a quick refresher that by communication skills we mean a skill or a set of skills that enable two people, a group of 2 people, 2 different participants to have their messages across effectively. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Wherever there is communication going on, there are 2 parties. Either there are 2 individuals, or there is 1 individual or 1 object, or there are 2 groups of people. Always there is 1 sender group, sender individual, or sender phenomena, or there is 1 receiver individual, or receiver group, or receiver phenomena. And then there is 1 third agent in the process, and this third agent is message itself. So when I am talking about communication, I am basically talking about the process of communication. Now you understand this process is a triangle, and it has 3 angles: sender, receiver, and the message. Now, sometimes sender is a person, and receiver is a person too. Okay, in some situations sender is a medium, maybe a book, maybe a video, maybe an audio, and receiver is a human brain. All right, in third situation, sender is 1 person, or receiver, there are group of people. So these are 3 different situations, but always there will be a sender party, a receiver party, and message itself that is being communicated. So if the circle goes on smoothly and whatever is being sent is received effectively and the message is understood, we call that effective communication. However, there are problems. Not all the time communication is effective. There are many types of problems. Now, we are going to discuss all of these problems, but under the caption of business communication. So you have that subject specific situation in your brain to understand the intricacies of the discussion, the topic and the discussion. Now, you can see these things on the screen. You can see the medium, you can see the message, you can see value, you can see role of information technology, you can see to whom the message is being sent, and you can see different kinds of barriers. Here the communication is taking place. Now, first of all, let's talk about the medium. That is the very first part of our discussion. So, we are going to talk about the medium in the very beginning. What do we mean by that? Well, look at the screen. The medium, what do I mean by medium? The medium is that agency, that support that we use in order to communicate our message. Message is always coded in some kind of medium. Like what I am talking to you right now is a message that I am communicating. The process of this communication between you and I involves a sender, that is me, a receiver, that is you, and I have two mediums, by the way. One medium is this language that I am using to speak my message. This is the message in which the medium is language, where message is encoded. The second is carrier. This camera is the carrier of my message that takes it to you. So in our situation, we have two mediums involved. One medium that is helping me to encode my thoughts into words, and the other is the carrier that takes them away to you. So the message basically always travels through a or more than one medium. Now, when I go to the second aspect, role of ICT, you would understand what do I mean by that exactly, because in our communication process, this is very much around, because my message is encoded into language that is English. So the target language that I'm using is English. Language itself is the medium that I'm using to communicate my message. I'm using two kinds of languages, you can see. I'm using one verbal language that I'm speaking, and the other language that I'm using is the kinesthetic, the sign language that I'm using, the body language that I'm using. My facial gestures, my body movement, my hand movements, all these things are basically known as kinesthetic aspects of communication, or non-verbal aspects of communication, or body language that is supplementing as well as complementing the verbal message being conveyed. Now, the third thing is role of information technology. In such communication processes, the role of information technology is very important. Why? Because I have prepared my message onto this computer. So, in preparation of my message, computer plays significant role. In transferring my message to my respondents, computer plays significant role. In transferring my message to my respondents, the voice, the speakers, they play important role. If anything goes wrong at any stage with any of the participant, all of these are participants, my message is going to be a failure. So how many things I am naming? I am naming, first of all, my efficiency of language. If I am not good with language, I will not be able to encode my ideas from my thoughts to words and bring them out. So if my language proficiency is not up to level, I will not be able to communicate my message no matter how good my ideas are. So the very first thing to work at is this bridge between thoughts and language. We need to have language skills to transcribe, translate our ideas into words. Number one. Number two, if I am not efficient in using computers, I'm not efficient specifically in using PowerPoint technology that I am using right now, I may not be able to use this gadget for my purpose. This will not solve my purpose. So it's not only knowing computer, it's knowing how to use it to best serve my purpose. Second thing, if I am not loud enough, if I am not clear enough, And if I am not pronouncing clearly and accurately, you will not be able to understand me. So despite the fact I have wonderful ideas, I have them coded into clear language, I am very good with computers, my PowerPoint my PowerPoint understanding is all superb, still my voice is not good enough. So the carrier is faulty. You will not be able to get my message. Now, fourth important thing is the role of the camera. If camera is not capturing me right, or I'm not being captured by camera right, you will not be able to get the picture. So the full message is not communicated. Again, what comes in? If any of these things are not working fine, and instead of calling them things, I will call them participants. If all of these participants are not working fine, whatever is due, then the message gets to be a failure. So if I call a communication ineffective communication, that does not mean that it's always a problem with the sender of the message. That means the problem can be with any of the participant, number one. Now, it does not mean that you always have bad language. It can be any aspect where the problem is lying. You need to find out. So, in order to be an effective communicator, what you need to understand is you need to know how many participants are involved, how many stakeholders are there, and how many types of barriers are there. I'm using one term. How many types of barriers are there? Okay. Now, apart this, we were focusing on the medium. So, the medium is verbal, face to face, like if somebody is sitting here and I'm talking to her or him, it's a face to face communication. Then it's paper based. It can be that I'm reading something. So my sender is a book and receiver is myself. Okay. It can be electronic. Sender is there to send the message electronically, whether a phone or on the screen or behind the audio, and the receiver is you, who is listening, who is watching, who is receiving a phone call, right? Or who is in any way who is involved with electronics as carrier of the message. And the fourth is image or visual. Maybe I'm looking at a board sign. Maybe I'm looking at a billboard on the road. But there are many billboards on the road when you are traveling. So what is happening? A communication process is taking place between you and the billboard. You look at the billboard. At times you will find when you are driving or you're going somewhere, there comes in a billboard with a advertisement of jam, right? And it's a mango jam where a mother is putting jam on the bread for her son, and son is there. So if you are a mother, you may have an unconscious look, and somewhere in the back of your head, something is ongoing. You're thinking about your own son. And maybe in future, when you go to market, what you will do, you know that you are going to buy jam. This image of mango jam that you watched on the billboard will be somewhere in your head, and unconsciously you may look for it. And if you do that, that means the billboard has served its purpose. The purpose was to stick to your brain if you are the target audience. And if it sticks, that means the job is done. Communication successful. Do you get my point? However, if the colors of the billboards are not good enough to catch your eye, or the position of the billboard is tilted, you cannot see it clearly, you won't pay attention. Or if the billboard is ripped off, or if it's made of fabric, if it's made of paper, it's torn out, or anything bad has happened to it and it's in shabby appearance, you may not pay a look and pay attention to that. If any of these things happen, if it's a very strong wind blowing and the billboard is not stable and it's shaky and you cannot read what is written, you cannot see what is there, what is happening? All these are basically working as barriers. Or maybe I'm talking about the billboard itself, problems with that, problems with the environment, it's a wind or it's rain or it's storm, or problem with the receiver. Maybe I have my eyesight is not good enough to read things at a distance, right? So I have weak eyesight and I forgot my spectacles at home, so I won't be able to read or look at the billboard. So problem is with the receiver. If any of these things take place, the end product will be failure of the message. So unsuccessful communication. The point to be noted is that we, being learners of effective communication, and we being learners of effective business communication, need to know all the sensitive areas that play significant role in making one message conveyed effectively. So we can, if we know about all these stakeholders, if we know about all these sensitive areas, if we are well informed of them beforehand, we will be able to take measures important, required. Okay, so I am talking about the medium so far. So medium can be of different types, you understand. Now let's move on and see what do we have next. Now to refresh or to conclude what I have said so far for medium, how the communication is to be made is controlled by the medium. The medium, it is important to select an appropriate medium for the message. You need to consider the needs of the sender, the nature of the receiver, and the aims of the communication. Look at these three words: sender, needs, nature of the receiver, and aims of the communication. These are very important things. Look at the relation. Need is related to sender, nature is related to receiver, and aim is related to communication. If you know about these three participatory aspects, and if you are well prepared for them, you will not have a failure of communication. Now I bring in the example of the same billboard, and I tell you what is my need as a sender. Let's say I'm a company of edible products and I produce jams and jellies, right? And I am introducing a new kind of flavor that's a combination of orange and chocolate. Okay, so I'm going to bring a new jam in the market that is a combination of orange and chocolate flavor. So my need is that people are already buying orange, mango, strawberry and peach jam made by my company. They should also buy orange plus chocolate jam. Now, the need is to introduce the new product and tell them that this product belongs to my company exclusively. This is the need. Now, what is the nature of the receiver? Well, because I'm going to introduce my product, the nature of the receiver is that they are novice. They don't know about this product. This product is not in the market. And in a way, my audience is a large audience. Now, what do I mean by audience? People who I am targeting for my product. Everyone eats jam, so whether it's child or adult or grown up or middle-aged person or an old person, all of them eat jam. So in one way, all of these ages, people belonging these age groups are my audience. However, I'm going to exclusively target two audience. One is a child, other is an adult, and third is an old person. So I'll try to incorporate all three people into my message. Now, there are two genders. Excuse me. There are two genders, male and females. Am I going to address only one gender? Is it the requirement of my product? No, not necessarily. I can include males as well as females, or rather it'll be good to include both the genders. It will add into the spirit of my message. So I may and now nature of my message is that I have to project it. I have to give a single visual. So I have to incorporate all my messages into my visual. Now, what is the aim of my communication? Aim of my communication is that my receiver should know that these are the three age groups that my jam targets. One, these are the two different genders that my jam targets. Third, this is the price range of my product. Number 4, and that this jam is product of my company. Number 5, that it has an exclusively brand new combination of orange plus chocolate. Okay, so if I create an advertisement where I am having a father-in-law, an old person with his newly or with his daughter-in-law that we call bahu, and their father-in-law's grandson pota, and they are sitting on in the morning they are sitting on their breakfast table, and the mother is applying jam on the bread, and this is the picture that I want to show. And on one corner I'm giving all brands of jam, and the boy is thinking about the chocolate, and the girl's husband, who is the son of the grandfather, is thinking about orange flavor, and the grandfather is thinking about, oh, everyday strawberry, banana, or all these flavors. I want something new. And the mother is thinking how to feed their needs, how to make them eat, right? And they all have their thinking bubbles on their head. And suddenly, in one corner, I give this wonderful idea of combination of orange and chocolate that, address their needs. This way you can understand that along with all these things, in one corner I tell the price as well, which is equal to all other flavors of jam that my company has already produced. What I'm doing, I have created one single image addressing on all of the aspects that I had to, and addressing the aims of my communication process. And then I use bright colors to attract audience, right? I can use, if my jam is of orange and chocolate flavor, I can give this orange and chocolate color to different things that have to stand out. So the color corresponds with the message, that this is a combination. Maybe for the lady, I will use orange color of her shirt and chocolate brown dupatta, and for the decoration in the dining room, for the flowers on the table, for the crockery that is there. What I'm doing, I'm using color as medium, I'm using pictures as medium, I'm using gender as medium, I'm using age group as a medium, I am using thoughts as medium, and I am collecting all these mediums together to put them into one single message that basically addresses my aim. And my aim is to promote my newly made product, to introduce this in the market. And then each advertisement, each visual can have a different purpose. Maybe this is one of the visual, one of the message. My second message is that it is cost effective. Maybe it's cheaper than the other brand. So second message will address this phenomena, that this is cheaper than the other brand. So for one message, you need to concentrate on the aim of that particular message. That is what I mean by needs of the sender, nature of the receiver, and aims of the communication. If you are planning, designing, and then executing the process of communication accordingly, where you address all these three aspects religiously, there are very few chances that you will not be able to have your message heard, understood, and eventually successful. Okay, moving on. Inappropriate medium can be a barrier to effective communication. Now, like I have already explained, there are different sensitive corners. There are many stakeholders. There are many participants. One participant is the medium. And to tell you honestly, one major participant is the medium. If there is anything wrong with your choice of medium or with your use of medium, if it is inappropriate, there are very bright chances of your message getting failed. For example, if I use a medium for this message, I use a sign medium, and I'm using only sign language. Maybe I'm very good at sign language, you know. Maybe I had been teaching people who would not be able to listen, so that is, I'm professional in communicating in sign language. But am I dealing with the audience who needs sign language? No. So I have to complement my message with verbal language. But I'm not taking care of, because I'm a professional in sign language. I would like to use that. Using one skill, that is not required. Using one medicine, using one wrong medicine, that is not required. Not to suit your health, you know, will cause severe damage to your health. That is the same way. If you are using an inappropriate medium to send your message across, very, very clear chances are that you may get failed. So all these decisions have to be made, you know, following some kind of plan, and plans have to be well informed. You have to read, study, and do your homework before taking such decisions. If your decisions are informed, then you know, there are very bright chances that your communication is going to be successful. So let's move on with the next slide. We need to talk about the value of what? Value of business communication has 4 aspects to talk about: motivation, clarity of line management, reflection, coordination and organization of the business. Message is one phenomenon that we are talking about, but what is the value of this phenomenon? Is this motivated? Or is this answering any kind of motivation, feeding some motivated people? My line of management is clear. Is this reflection of what is demanded? It is organized or coordinated. If I am answering all these questions, that means my message is a valuable message. Because at times it happens that no matter how effective sender you are, how effective receiver you are, how effective the message it is, but the message is unwanted. Message is worthless because it is not suiting the situation. So that means there is one barrier that is very important. If the message is not wanted, message may not be received. Okay? If you stand in front of a medical clinic and you are distributing pamphlets of a beauty clinic that previously would charge 1,000 rupee for beauty services and now specifically is charging 50 rupees for 1 week. Okay? And you target a clinic where mothers are bringing their children for their health care. Okay? Are you targeting right situation? Is your message valuable? A mother who is very much worried about her kid's health, will she be any, is there any possibility that she'll be attracted to your message? If she will be, that may not be for that week. So if your offer is for a week and this is the situation that you are targeting, this may not be a very good decision. You have to look into the need of the message, the right time, the market need. So here we are introducing a new term to understand. Market need, market study, need of the audience, market demand. So if you are addressing these issues, that you will never be worried about the value of your message. However, if you ignore these facts, your message may lose the outcomes that you are expecting. Okay, moving on. So vast majority of problems in business are caused by ineffective communication in one form or another. Business, essentially human-focused organizations, value of good communications therefore inestimable. So you have to value the communication mediums and the communication participants and have to then correspond and synchronize between the participants. Another very important aspect that one needs to consider is to whom we are communicating. Is this is this an individual or group of people, or people who have different genders, or people who have different age groups, or is it a formal kind of group, formal kind of receiver, or informal receiver? Is it staff? Is it employer? Is it employee? Is it customer? Is it shareholder? Is it a stakeholder? Is it a supplier? Is it a vendor? Is it a local community, or is it what? Unless you are clear about the audience, you cannot frame your message, because everything that goes into setting a medium, whether it's language or the carriers or the message itself, the level of the message, the language of message, the other decisions related to message, the knowledge of audience is very important. So I will be discussing all these aspects in the following lectures. Since this lecture, the very first lecture is orientation lecture and by nature, so I'm trying to just give you feel of understanding of all the bits that we will be involving in discussion. So to whom is another very important factor. Who the communication is aimed at is an important factor. The nature of the medium and the content may depend on who it is aimed at. Necessity of being sensitive to the receiver is one important aspect you have to take care of. Should communication be formal or informal? Well, all these questions can be answered if you are aware of audience and their needs and aim of your communication. Now, let's say if it's email communication, for example, you have to ask several questions in order to make yourself clear and your plan. Does it need to adhere to normal rules? Am I bound of some rules and regulations to be followed, such as of spelling, punctuation, grammar, and then second category of formatting, where my date has to go, where my signature has to go. Will I be using some formal conventions or informal conventions? Do I need to give a subject line? Do I need to give a bold subject line? Or is there any use of italics? Or am I expected to write first paragraph of a preface to the information, or I have to be very direct in writing? All these things have to be planned. Now, planning has two sides to consider. If it is demanded from your audience, then they definitely will have some rules and regulations to be followed. If it is volunteered or you are proposing it, you may have the freedom either to follow their rules or to set your own. So look at the situation and then follow and make decisions accordingly. Now, are there different rules for different situations? What situation you are dealing with? How do you know what the receiver expects? How will I have this idea that what are the needs and demands and requirements and expectations of my audience? Who will tell me? Well, that's a big issue that we have to dig deep into in the following sessions. What damage can be caused by inappropriate email messages? So, all these things we will be discussing when we'll be discussing email writing in detail. Now, type of message. Type of message may be an important factor in determining the medium, content, approach, etc. Good news, bad news, information, instruction, each of the above may require a different approach and a different medium. So what message type are you planning will help you address and pick up the approach that you need to use to take it further onto designing stage. So I'm bringing you, taking you back to the slide where we started with the message, the medium, value, role of information technology, to whom, and barriers. Now we are discussing the nature of message. What is the aim of the message? The purpose of message? The type of message? Is it clear? Is it confused? Or has it to be clear? Has it to be confused on purpose? Sometimes you will feel that you will observe it that on television an advertisement comes for a second and then it is written coming on Thursday 9th of December, and you are, what was it? What is it about? And it's a confused message, but it is not confused by mistake. It is confused on purpose to confuse you, to trigger your curiosity, so you wait for it. When you wait for something and you get it, it is better understood, or it sinks in deep. Well, and then the importance of the message. We have already touched on this topic, that message has to be valuable. What is the communication designed to achieve? Let me conclude what we have talked so far. This needs to be considered carefully to judge the best method of delivery and to judge the effectiveness of the feedback as to whether the message has been successful. Role of information technology, I've already had a word about it. It's very important, the speed, the efficiency, the accuracy, the clarity, the personal or impersonal approach, cost versus benefits analysis. If you're very good with it, but your cost is more than the benefit, your input is a lot more than the output, then it's not going to be a beneficial deal. We are talking business here. Okay. ICT has brought many advantages, but also has its limitation. So never to forget that, yeah, it enables PD communication. It can be cheap and save on cost. Video conferencing is cheaper than going to some place physically and presenting. It can be expensive in hardware requirements. If I have to send a recorded lecture to somebody sitting in one area of, in another area of Pakistan, I need to set up a system for that, right? So at times your decision, according to your decision, it can be expensive. It can seem impersonal. It can be abused. It can be misused. Like you can see many cyber crimes. You definitely will be informed of. The cyber crimes are basically abuses of information technology that are getting very common, and people are really getting into them. Anyhow, moving on. Yes, barriers. I've already talked about several barriers, several types, and they are connected with several types of participants in the process of communication. However, I will name again some very few and most obvious barriers that this process face. Barrier of language, technical content, not recognizing the reviewer's need, receiver's need, audience needs, inadequate feedback, emotional interference, degree of knowledge and expertise of both sender and receiver, quantity of information, loading your message with the quantity, how much your audience can absorb. You need to be aware of the fact. Lack of trust and honesty. If you are not trustworthy, audience will not trust your information. So you must have observed this. You can see Shahid Afridi in a dandruff ad. That in the dandruff shampoo ad, the shampoo is designed for men specifically, and men of his age. So who is the center of the message? Shahid Afridi, the most popular tycoon. So who can be a trustworthy figure more than him if you need to target youth, male youth, for their one problem which they come across when they go outdoors? Here you are. Cultural differences, poor listening skills, and hierarchy of your message. We need to discuss all these things into detail, and we will be doing that. Anything that prevents successful communication from occurring complex and multi-layered can be technical or generated by the medium used. Main problem is human behavior and psychology. Emotional interference is the last bit that I want to introduce you to. An enduring image you can see this, emotional interference is a significant factor influencing successful communication. Emotions, anger, frustration, happiness, enthusiasm, need to be defensive, desire to be assertive, all these things affect your message and the communication process. Your body language says for more about communication than we ever realize. So you have to be very careful about your body language. I will discuss this aspect into more details when we are discussing about different types of communication. However, this was the precise introduction of communication skills, business communications, and basics of business communication that one needs to understand before we start building on to our concepts. So this was the basic concept where we discussed different participants of the communication process, their significance and their role in the process. Okay. Now I want you to move on with me to business language exercise of lecture 1. That is to tell people, where in the world are you? Well, when you are a business person, you are traveling inside a city, traveling inside the country, traveling inside the world. So you may move from one place to another. You should know how to talk about different places. Look at the pictures. In the language exercise, I will give you clues, ideas, and will help you to prepare for such things, because these are the skills that will enable you to move effectively in the business world. So if you are going to be in the business of, in your own business, and you are going to manufacture something, you should know, if I am dealing with this product, what places I am going to visit. If I am going to visit India, if I am going to visit Pakistan, different cities of Pakistan, what do I need to know about these places? Do I need to know the names of the cities, the names of the famous manufacturers of the same product? Am I going to work with the business industry? Am I going to work with the architectures? So whatever you are going to work with, work for, and work in, you need to know how to talk about it, because that is one basic skill that a businessman or woman should have. So if I'm a businesswoman who has to move around in the world, I should know that these are the famous places, pictures of the landscapes and landmarks or skyscrapers around the world. I should know this is Australia, well this belongs to India, this belongs to United States, oh yeah, this is Japan, I've been there, this is Russia, this is Spain. You being informed about the field that you are going to play in will not only help you play better, will help you feel better. Because when you are well informed, well prepared, you feel confident. Now, in order to help you develop your language skills, the question of the day is, which country would you like to work in and why? Or we can rephrase the question, which city would you like to work in and why? If you are answering this question, you are preparing yourself for describing and giving reasons. Okay, for example, if I say, I want to work in New Zealand because the product that I am going to manufacture is produced in New Zealand, and there are different things that are going to help me in my production process. What I'm giving reasons now. You see that the labor of stitching leather jackets is cheaper in New Zealand, and then leather is produced in New Zealand. So if I have to buy the raw product, this will be cost effective for me to go to New Zealand to buy the raw product cheaper than Pakistan, to get it ready stitched. And then if I am going to have an import-export of my product, and I'm going to target, let's say, India, Australia, or United States, then the port at the New Zealand, the import and export process and the procedures are easier to handle with. They are tax-free, they are custom-free, they are easy to go through. So what I'm giving reasons. If you know how to talk about which city you want to work in and why, you are not only exploring the facts that are hidden inside, making yourself clear of your decision, conscious of your decision, you are preparing yourself linguistically to talk about the things. So in future, when you are in the business and other business people, they come to you to discuss things with you, they will take you as an informed and professional business person. You get my point? All right. Let's move on. So in the business listening exercise today, you are going to listen to an interview with Niles, a Swedish professional working in the UK. Now, what you are going to do, you are going to pay attention to listening. We'll try not to read. You are going to have the written transcript as well, but I would want you to just listen and try to understand as much as possible. Well, one possibility is that you don't understand the very first time. No problem, play again. Listen again and try to answer the questions. Even if you don't get it second time, again no problem. Try it for the third time. And I tell you, I bet you, for the second time, third time, slowly and gradually you will start getting better and your listening skills will improve, right? And then a time would come when you would get listening understood in the very first go. However, at the same time, to help you out, you will have the written transcript of the audio. Now, what questions you are going to focus on? Which of the following best describes Niles' job? Read the question first so it's easy for you to find out the answer when you are listening to the audio. He does research for a government agency. He works in customer support. He is a computer programmer for a software company. Now, homework for you to understand, read about, what do I mean by government agency, research, customer support service, computer programmer, software company. You need to know about these terms in order to be informed about these professions. Here I played the video. Please listen to the video and focus on the screen to find an answer for your question.
My name is Nils. I work for a software company, a computer company. I've been working there for 2 years now. There aren't any really typical days in my company. I do a lot of work for different customers. So kind of a typical day would be for me to go to a customer and try to solve some of the problems. Or I could be staying in the office solving problems remotely. That's a typical day. Before I started working for this company, I didn't really have a career. I did my master's thesis at research agency.
Okay, by now you should be able to answer the very first question. So what do you think? Which one is the right answer? Government agency, customer support, or programming for a software company? Yes, you're right. It's customer support. All right, moving on with the question. Now you're going to listen and answer, what did Niles do before his current job? How did he get his current job? Niall says there are two differences between working in Sweden and working in the UK. What are they? You have to complete the table with things Niall says in the interview about his job. Add one more thing to each column. Coming down on the screen, what advice does Niall give to anyone who wants to get a job like this, like his? And then Niall says it's important to get your foot in the door. What does he mean by that? You have to find out an answer for it. Please, now focus on the screen.
I work for a software company, software product company. I've been working there for 2 years now. There aren't any really typical days in my company. I do a lot of work for different customers. So kind of a typical day would be to go to the customer and try to solve some of the problems. Or I could be staying in the office solving problems remotely. That's a typical day. Before I started working for this company, I didn't really have a career. I did my master's thesis at research agency for RTE before that. I found this job through a friend working for the same company in Sweden, and he said they were hiring staff in Oxford, so I sent in my CV and went to interview. Working in the UK, the differences between working in the UK and Sweden is, I guess, the salaries are a lot higher and the tax is lower. That's probably what I like the most about working in the UK. Things I enjoy the most about my job is I meet a lot of different customers, there's different projects every week, almost every week. So it's not the same every day. You need to be analytical and need to be able to solve problems, even though the problem might not be that particular to you. Customers might not even know they've got a problem, but you're there to solve it anyway. So analyzing problems, just meeting customers, talking to customers, getting a great first impression about the problem, one of the key skills. My advice to someone that wants a similar job as mine would be to just try to get a foot in the door. If you're coming to the UK to work from within the European Union, it's pretty easy. You don't really have to do anything. If you get a job, just move here and start working. Move here on a Sunday and start working on Monday. No problem at all. If I could do any job in the world, I probably would want to be a photographer or travel magazine or something like that. My name is Lils. I work for a software.
Okay, here you are. So I hope you'll be able to find out answers. Now let me discuss these answers with you. So for his very first question, when he says, what does he work for? He works in customer support. Then for the second question, when he's asked, the second question answers when he says that, what did Niles do before his current job? How did he get his current job? Well, one answer, best answer can be that before his current job, Niles did a master's thesis at the Defense Research Agency in Sweden and was a student before that. He found his current job because one of his friends worked for the same company but in Sweden. His friend told him they were hiring in Oxford. Now the third question was, Niles says there are two differences between working in Sweden and working in the UK. What are they? Well, the salaries are higher in the UK and the tax rate is lower than in Sweden. And the fourth question was, complete the table with things Niles says in the interview about his job. Add one more thing to each column, and that thing can be that he meets many different customers, things Niall enjoys, and there are different projects every week. Now, skills needed, making a good impression and being analytical, solving problems. Then the fifth question was, What advice does Niles give to anyone who wants to get a job like this? And the answer is, just apply for similar things. Well, the last question was, Niles says it's important to get your foot in the door. What does it mean? What does he mean by that? Well, he means it's important to get started in some way, to create an opportunity for yourself within a company or industry. Suggested ways of doing this: applying for a job that isn't perfect, but it's for a company you like, using friend or family connections to recommend you, volunteer to do work experience without pay so that you become known by a particular company, send an application for a job even if there is no job advertised so that the company has your name on file, attend trade fairs or job fairs and talk to people there in an effort to make new contacts. So this was all about business listening exercise for lecture 1. Now let us have a quick review of what we did in today's talk. In today's talk we had course orientation regarding what are the things that we are going to study in today's lecture, lecture 1 of Business English. We had a discussion about basics of business communication and some very basics of language efficiency in business communication and business management. And this was all for today's talk. I'll see you in the next lecture, lecture 2 of Business English. For now, Allah Hafiz.